So Wednesday travelled down to Coventry for the FA Cup third round tie. I think most of us expected a host of changes. And there were some changes, but probably not as many as we'd expected. There was a rest for Beadle and Bannon, so we went with Charles in goal, a back three of Ottugbayo, Bernard and Lowe, a midfield of Valerie, Charles, Chalabar and Ingleson, and a front three of Masaba, Ugbo and Gassama. When I saw Ingleson were in there, I thought, oh, that's going to be a 4-3-3. It was more of a 3-4-3. But the thing is with this modern Wednesdays, they move that much within a game that it also almost makes these formation sheets redundant. Because, you know, there's times in the game yesterday when Max Lowe's popping up in that little sort of floating position that Messi used to like to take up, do you know what I mean? Ingleson's out on left, then he's in middle. Sometimes it looks like we've got full back, sometimes it looks like we've got three set of halves in it. Very fluid, but hard to keep a track of, really. FA Cup, Saturday night, 6 o'clock kickoff. I mean, I think we can just start there with these kickoff times. Apparently it were on telly somewhere in the world, and I'm sure they were thrilled a Coventry Wednesday match to watch, wherever they were. But this pissing about with kickoff times. I mean, I were working Friday, and I'm driving home, and I thought, I better go to the way because there's a match on at Lane. But it was really quiet. We're only, 6,000 people there. But 6 o'clock on a Friday night, there's only going to be a few there, isn't there? I mean, Cardiff hardly brought anybody up. And what's remarkable about our game at Coventry is how many Wednesday fans were there. Admittedly it's on a Saturday, but still, stupid kick-off time. For the third round game that probably nobody's really that bothered about, and the following that Wednesday took, and the noise that they made, by the way, absolutely phenomenal. They talk, don't they, about, we need to keep the magic of the cup alive. But I think fans are doing their bit, when I look at the numbers that's travelled down there. But I think the Football Association itself has got to take some blame, All right, big teams will put a lot of reserves out and this and that other, but this moving it schedules all the time, it's absolutely ridiculous. Remember when they all played at the same time, on the same day, there might be one picked out for the telly. I mean, and that'd be something reasonable, like a Sunday dinner time on Beeb or whatever, but now... It's a different debate, but the kick-off times this week, it's really, really annoyed me. And tens of thousands of other people, I've no doubt either. Not that we'll do out about it, because, as British football fans, we're just like, oh God, that's shit. Are you going? Yeah. What? Frank Lampard's Coventry. Sorry, I'll remember. So let's get to the game. Frank Lampard's Coventry against Wednesday, FA Cup third round. Thought they started off with more at ball and looked quite comfortable with it. Wednesday, as I said, I'm trying to work out what they're doing at that stage. They've got a level of comfort. They've got that Radoni, who I do like him, back from Wimbledon or whatever it were. Wednesday, sporadic attacks, Gassama, Masaba getting in a few half-decent positions and probably not quite finding that final ball that we're looking for. Gassama went on a little run, he got brought down. We whipped free kicking. Bernard went down at back stick in very dramatic fashion. But at a penalty, I couldn't see it, to be honest with you, I never saw a replay of it, but... the way he went down, if it weren't a penalty, he should have probably been bugged because it was a really dramatic, forward chuck with it. So Wednesday having odd little chances, but Coventry having more at ball, I would say. They score on 25 minutes. Wednesday will be frustrated because it's a set piece again. Corner comes in. Gets helped on. Not under no challenge. Kid flicks it on, there's no pressure on him. And then Kitchen fires it home. To be fair, there's one of their lads who's doing... Chalabar is actually trying to get out to him on second ball. You've got to be fair. It's a terrible goal, but he is trying to get there. But one of their lads has made a block. He's made a blocking run. So it's well worked on their part. Disappointing from us. But a goal down again. They're on top at this stage. They've got a goal. They'd been on top before, to be honest with you, without really creating too much. That Santi's quite lively down that side. And him and Sims linked well, put a cross into the box, and Wednesday got an half cleared and son it off outside at boot. That got flashed over at bar. And they were having that spell, and I thought, oh, they look like they might get a second aid, and if they do, that's probably game over, because as much as we'd looked quite dangerous on counter-attack, we'd not actually had any shots. In fact, probably the Wednesday highlight of the first half is when ball had rolled out of play and their lad's going to get it, and Windass were warming up and he kicked it away from him and laughed his head off when kid were getting mardy about it. And that was the only time at first half really that was like, hey, you know, it would yeah. Danny makes changes at break. Obviously, he said in the week he really wants to win this game. So Ottobeo came off and Michael Heckway came on. I did wonder if Heckway might start this game, and Danny were talking in week about, you know, people have got to earn the right to play, and he's not just going to give people minutes for the sake of it. So I did wonder if there was something going on there behind the scenes. But Heckway's been injured for a long while as well, so you don't want to give somebody too much to do. That might be part of it as well. And with that injury crisis at the back now, you know, Iofa's going to be out for 7-8 weeks, they've said. We're desperately short at centre half. We don't know if there's going to be any business done in transfer window, so really important actually that we do get Heckway some time on the pitch. So it's good to see him involved, even though I don't think he's really been fancied that much this season when he hasn't been injured. It's another body back there, isn't it, at the end of the day? And in fact, he should probably get an header on target probably 10 minutes after restart. Really good ball in from right hand side. Gets up unchallenged really, puts it over. Should test the goalkeeper. Should test the goalkeeper for me. But how long's he been out for? You know, looked a little bit rusty there. I think if he'd had a run of 4 or 5 games, he probably gets that on target. You know, your positioning's better and your timing's better. But good to see him get a run out. Brilliant double save from Pierce Charles at net, doing a big diagonal ball out to their right wing. He puts cross into box, gets volleyed in from distance. Really, really good save. It's a really powerful strike. But then the rebound as well. Really good reactions to get him send reset for rebound. Coventry having another little spell here, but as the half wore on with a 1-0 lead, I just thought they sort of started sitting off a little bit and thinking, well, you know, there's no point leaving his ends wide open back here. There's no point going out gun-go for the second goal when Wednesday's clearly going to be playing on Coventry anyway. So they just started sitting off a little bit and saying, well, you know, you can have a bit of ball and you know, try and break us down. Which we didn't really look like doing. Danny clearly wants to win the game. He brings Barry Bannon on, you know, one of the older statesmen. So obviously him and Marvin Johnson, you'd be hoping not to use them players who've played a lot of football, but he brings Bannon on to try and turn the screw a little bit. Wednesday looked like they got, you know, when Heckway came on as well, looked like they gone to more of a back four really at this stage, try and get a bit more control in midfield. And Bannon's involved straight away. Little ball over the top for Windass, who's made a really good run just offside there. And Wednesday, as I said, Coventry have been dropping off and letting us have the ball. We haven't really looked likely, but now they're dropping us off and letting us have the ball, and we're looking a bit more because obviously Bannon's on there and trying to get things going and pulling strings a bit. Probably Wednesday's best spell actually. And it's during this spell when actually Charles, Shea Charles, that is, victim of a couple of really naughty tackles that are not horrific tackles, you know, not leg breakers where somebody's chucked some sense in out of control, but just them little nasty ones on ankle, just that split second after, you know, when you've played, you know the ones I'm on about. Wednesday turned its screw a little bit towards Enson, having a real good go at it. Bannon volley just off at bar. We'd put I think it was a corner free kick from right side, got headed out. He had one touch and set him, volleyed it just over. And just when you're thinking, well, that's you know, cup done for another year, we equalise. Charles Outswinging corner, knocked back in, and Masaba's in there in 6-yard box. And I was talking last week how frustrated I was. The number of opposition teams that score goals in our 6-yard box, it really annoys me. And we've done it. Headed back in, 6-yard box, reacts first, tucks it home, extra time, and everybody absolutely delighted. Not much to talk about in first half, an extra time for me. It was a bit. They've had a little breather, and nobody wants to concede a goal in that. And then, sort of second half, an extra time. I don't know what brought it on. Although they had a little break. They had a little break in the half time of extra time. Is that a new thing? Or am I imagining it? Because that extra time I always remember as being first half of extra time finished, ref blew, swapped ends, carry on. Maybe it's since COVID, I don't know, there seems to be all these breaks all along now, don't they? We're having bloody time out next. Second half of extra time, I think Lampard's obviously said a bit to them, let's try and win it. I don't know if he didn't fancy penalties, but suddenly they're slinging ball in our box with regularity. As soon as they get it wide, bang, it's in box. They obviously aware of the fact that we concede a lot of goals from crosses, a lot of goals from corners and free kicks, so they're really slinging it in there. If I'd won about 3 or 4 corners on bounce, there was a spell, it was just an aerial bombardment, and young Charles, I thought he dealt really well with it. Apart from when they did get the ball in the net, it was a free kick. I thought it was alright. But I can only think it would have fell on Charles. I couldn't see OWLS at the time. I thought it was a decent goal. But there you go. Like I said, aerial bombardment from them. He actually makes a really good save. A corner coming right in under the crossbar, and one of their lads has gone in and tried to keep Nat Lofthouse into the back of net, and he's done really well to tip it off at bar. But Coventry turning it screw in extra time. Penalties, the lottery of penalties. I don't like penalties. I know some people. Oh, it's great entertainment. I don't think penalties are great entertainment if neither of your teams are involved. If you actually support a team, you don't really want penalties, do you? Do you like penalties? I don't. I'll watch other teams take them all day. You know what I mean? But when it's us, I'm like, oh, I can do without it. So what I do is I try and get my Cynic mindset before penalties. It's all psychology, innit? I get my Cynic mindset before penalties. Alright, we've lost. I'll just watch this shootout. That's the way I have to look at it, because otherwise I get tense, Probably the opposite way. As a player, players and coaching team and staff, they'll be like, you've got to envisage winning. But I don't. I'm the other way. I envisage losing, and then OWLS is a bonus. I know it's negative, I can't help it. That's the difference between being involved in football and being a supporter, isn't it? First penalty, really good one. Windass steps up, sweeps it across goal, sends keeper it wrong way, and it's a brilliant start. Their lad steps up top. It's a good hit. In fact, it's a really good hit because it goes in corner. But Charles a little bit unlucky because he goes right way, and I bet he's only an inch from making a save there. Honestly, it goes right way. It is a bit of a lottery, but. Then Bannon comes up, same thing again, sends keeper it wrong way. He has a bit of a giggle with Coventry fans, obviously he's played for Villa, and I think he might have been getting a little bit from them behind goal and shining the phone lights in his eyes as we were running up to take it. Bidwell steps up, and I knew he'd miss. I'm not a huge fan of left-footed penalty takers, as anyone who knows me will tell you. I would love to find the stats, not left-footers in particular, left-footers who are right-handed. It's something about the body shape when they strike a dead ball. I just don't like it. Left-footed, left-handed, fine. Left-footed, right-handed, there's something about it puts me about, I don't know. Anyway, Bidwell steps up. Really good save from Charles, but I'd got a feeling he was going to save it anyway, like I said, just with body angle that he stepped up at. And JLO steps up for Wednesday. God, I went on Twitter last night. What a mistake that is. I went on Twitter and he was taking an absolute dog's abuse for his performance. I'm not exactly sure why, because I thought he actually played quite well. I did, yeah. The final ball were missing, but then the final ball were missing all night with Wednesday. But he, I look at him, I look at Ugbo, but the thing is, Lowe gets into some really, really good positions. He takes up some really good positions. I think his link play and his hold-up play is better. And he does have that ability to beat a man with a cute bit of play. Final ball were missing last night, so I'm a bit disappointed with him in that sense. And it is a poor penalty. You can see what he's trying to do, and if you pull it off, it's best penalty in game, innit? Top corner. Gets it wrong, misses. But nowhere near the abuse he's been getting. It's absolutely balmy. Then Eccles and Charles both come up, take theirs. Both of them sent keeper it wrong way. Two good strikes. Then Radoni steps up. Again, Charles is a bit unlucky because he goes right way. I mean, it's a fantastic penalty from Radoni because it's one of them that it nestles inside netting. It's that far into the corner. Brilliant spot kick from him. I like it. Young lad's been a little bit unlucky at net. It was just making me think of old Dawson. I know he had his critics and whatever, but what a penalty stopper he were. Kibachi steps up. He's been out for a long time. Now, I don't know how Danny does it. They say he's all data and analysis and this, that, other. I'm sure they practice penalties all the time, and he's probably one of better penalty takers. I'm sure that's the way he does it. But I sometimes think you've got to have a little bit. How you feeling? How you feeling about this one? Because stats are one thing, but human emotion another thing. That lad has been injured for a long time. He'd come on its second half. It had a couple of little decent touches. And there were a couple of moments where I thought he could have probably got a shot away or probably beaten his man. And there just seemed to be that little bit of a lack of confidence and lack of belief that you get when you've been out a long time, and that little thing of being a little bit careful. So twice in 2 weeks I'm saying, mentally was he in the right place to take a penalty? But there we go. They've stepped up. You can't fault them for stepping up to take one, I don't suppose. So we're out at Cup for another year. I think Danny will be disappointed. He clearly wants to win every game. But there are some positives out of game. Another game under his belt for Pierce Charles, more experience for him. Kubatski back on the pitch. He's a player who can make things happen with ball. And if we can get him fit going into the second half of the season, and hope that he has a similar sort of impact to what Paveda had last season. I think that's the sort of player that we might be looking at there with him, the way that he plays. If we can get him fit, match sharp, offers us something maybe a little bit different to other wide players, that's a real bonus. And obviously, Hekui's come in, he's had 45 minutes. Vital that he gets some game time, especially if we can't get any more bodies indoor in this window, which is still very quiet. So yeah, I'd say they're the three major positives from the game. Pierce Charles, Kubatski and Hekwe all getting game time. It's more game time again for Chalabar, who's obviously gradually building up as well. So, we're out at Cup, a little bit disappointing, but penalties, as the old cliche goes, is a bit of a lottery, and I'm just focusing on that game time for them players that are coming back that we desperately need going into this second part of the season. Desperately important because we've got them next from up the road, and you don't want to be going there with an half-fit squad, that is for sure. Thought Charles made some really good saves. That Ingleson were busy again, as he always is. I have got a lot of time for Ingleson as a player. But I think I would go for Max Lowe again. Started as captain of the side. He's slotted into that role at back. I'd still like to see him at left back in future. But yeah, I thought he led by example back there. And he actually took up some decent positions. Like I said, it was a bit odd really, in midfield, drifting up front, hard on left. Yeah, so my man of the match would be Max Lowe. We've got to get some bodies in Doro. Bloody Leeds coming up.